Have you ever been looking at your Etsy finances and realizing the numbers just don't add up? They don't make any sense at all. So I've been asked loads of times to show you all through this. So today I'm going to take you a quick look at how you can use the downloadable files from Etsy, make everything add up, find out what all the different fees and expenses are. Obviously, I cannot legally give you any kind of tax advice, but hopefully at least I can give you some ideas so you can get the numbers in order, so you can take them to an accountant or do your tax returns yourself. So to get to these numbers, you have to go to your Etsy shop dashboard, your shop manager, and then under financials, you're going to be looking for your payment account. And it looks like they're changing how they do the payment account, which is interesting. And we're creating a better experience for managing your shop finances. I'm not going to say about time. You'll find all the same info as before in a cleaner, simpler format. We've removed the monthly statement graphs. I assume they make them in the little pie chart. I quite like that. To make it easier to review your sales, credits, fees and taxes. And positive balances are now in green and negative in red to clearly show when you've made sales or charged fees. Okay, they're just making it a little bit easier. So what I'm going to do here is I want to look at a monthly statement in the past, and I'm going to look at November. I know in November I had a good number of sales, but some of those sales also had the state taxes added to them, and I know I did a refund in November, so that'll give you more ideas of different types of fees. The only thing, I don't use Etsy shipping labels, but it's all the same. It doesn't matter whether you charge an amount for your listing and an extra amount for shipping, or it's all shipping included. You're charged pretty much the same. So it's all pretty much the same here. So I'm going to scroll down. You can see your monthly statement, but I want to go look at my overall monthly statements. Then I have to go, it's a little bit more fiddly, have to go to last year and then find November. And once you click on this, you can see our sales and credits and the fees and taxes. Now these initial numbers, this is where everyone is telling me they cannot get these numbers to add up. Now, I will tell you that Etsy says to us that we shouldn't use these numbers in our accounting. They are just estimates. I have no idea why they can't make these numbers add up. I'm sure somehow or another they do kind of add up if you understand what they're telling us, but this is not good enough for tax purposes. So what I want to do is go down to my VAT reporting area. I'm assuming if you don't pay VAT in some areas you won't have this, but it's a handy little form. But I'm going to show you how to use the CSVs in a little bit. We're just going to use the VAT reporting because this is the legaler document from Etsy, so this one should be correct. So we'll use the VAT reporting, and if we can get the VAT reporting to add up and say the same as what the CSV does, then we've understood what Etsy's telling us. And here, when I click this, I get a rundown of all the fees, including my subscription plan, the transaction fees, whole load of things. The promotional discounts is the money I get back for using the subscription plan fee, Etsy Plus. You get some advertising and some free listings out of that, so that money comes back in here. And there it is, it's all added up. And we can see these numbers already do not match the numbers that I saw on the overview page here. But these are supposedly the correct ones, so we'll go with this. Now you want to click on the Generate CSV File, and you'll get a funky little Excel spreadsheet like this. And if you've never seen something like this before, it looks crazy. I totally agree. It really doesn't show you anything a whole lot useful. It's quite confusing. Everything's all jumbled up. So I'm going to show you some little tricks with Excel to make this just a little bit easier to understand. First of all, I want to show you how you can group your types of sales. Now, sometimes you want them grouped by day as it is just now, but for ease I want to figure out how much each different type of fee was, so I want to group these together. Now the type of fee is under column B, So if I click on the B, that highlights the whole cell, that highlights the whole column there. If you have a different version or a different age of Excel, things might look slightly different. I'm in my Home tab of Excel, and then I go to the Sort Filter section, Sort A to Z, and it points out that there's more data than just in this column, and that's fine. We want to sort all the columns, but A to Z by this column B. So expand the selection and then just hit Sort. And now we can see everything's grouped a whole lot more helpfully. So the second thing I want to do, just to make things a little bit easier for me, because this is a very long chart, I want a little place at the top where I can doodle my calculations. And I don't want to have to keep scrolling up to it. So first of all, I'm making that little space. So what I do is click on the row numbers at the side through a few rows. I think I want, what do I want? I want 6 extra rows. So I click and drag to highlight number 1 to 6. Once they're all highlighted, I right click and click on Insert. And this moves the whole table down 6 rows. And this just gives me a little space to doodle. But now this is still going to be difficult. Once I scroll down, that would be missing. So I want to be able to freeze these rows. So I click on row number 8 because this is the row below the row that I want to freeze. And once the whole of row 8 is highlighted, now I hit View, Freeze Panes, Freeze Panes. And what this does is it cuts just below row number 7. I want number 7 so I can still see the headers. I can still see what's going on there. And I've got a few lines above to do my doodling. When you organise like this, you'll see on top the numbers that Etsy has deposited into our bank. It's good. Unfortunately, we can't add them up as they are through Excel. We're just going to have to add them up ourselves on a calculator. But we'll see how much. In the end, that tells us how much Etsy sent to the bank. Now, how much is sent to the bank is not going to be exactly the same as how much we made that month, just simply because the difference in days. If I did some sales, which I clearly did, on the last day of the month, then it takes a day or two for those sales to be sent to my bank, depending if it was a weekend. So those sales would come in the next week. And also, if I'd have made some sales at the end of October, those sales might be being sent to me in November. So don't expect these numbers to exactly match up. However, check with your accountant. If you're allowed to do a level of the simplified accountancy, it might be okay to use the numbers that are being sent to your bank, because that's what you're getting paid through your work with Etsy. But check with your accountant there. Now, so one of the things we want to do, one of the things that we can't see anywhere is if a customer buys from somewhere that has, say, US state tax added to it, and that's the tax that the customer pays, but we never see it, never comes into our account. Etsy takes it and remits it on our behalf, but it vanishes into the ether. And I want to know how much is being paid there so we can sort out our calculations right. So I scroll down to the area, the type, where it says sale, and you can see in this we've got the 3 columns, and it's quite simply, you've got the column for the amount the customer paid, and then you've got the column for the fees and taxes that come off. But where it says fees and taxes, it doesn't actually mean the estate taxes. So when you look at some of these, the actual amount you've paid, if you take away the fees from it, it doesn't add up to the sum at the side. So we can do a little bit of maths in these cells. The magic of Excel is we can do calculations super quickly. So for first little sum, I click the cell where I want the answer to be, and then I'm just going to say this cell equals, we're doing a little maths, sum, and it's F113. It equals this cell here minus the one next to it. So although these are refunds, it's going to work. You'll see how it works for the sales as well. So it is the amount the customer paid, or the amount was paid back to the customer, minus those fees and taxes. When I hit enter, I get this value. And all I need to do there is click on the cell, and then when I go to the bottom right hand corner of the cell, I can click on it and drag down as far as all the sales columns are, and this runs that calculation for each of these. So that was much quicker than a pen and paper. And then now I want to see what the taxes are, and that is just the difference here between what ends up in my account compared to what this value is, which is what the customer paid minus my fees that have come off. So all I do is a little calculation again, go to the cell to the right of the first one I did the calculation, into the cell type equals, and then click on that calculation cell that I just made in the I column, and then minus, and then click on what value ended up in my payment account on Etsy. And then when I hit enter, we see if there's a difference. And again, click and drag that down all those spaces, and you'll see some of them where they say none means the customer didn't pay any additional sales taxes. And the numbers that are there tell us the sales tax that our customer paid. So a nice, easy way to get all of that data. So now this is why I left this little space above, so I can do some little calculations. So the first nice, easy one, I want to figure out all these sales taxes that have been paid. So I just type in what I'm calculating, just something that you're going to remember to yourself. We're not showing these forms to anybody. And so this is a calculation. So you can put equals and add things up like we already did, or there is in Excel, there's a really cool handy little form here. If we go to formulas, the auto sum, just click on auto sum, and then it should say, you could also do this manually, but it says equals sum. So now you go down and click on the top of the column, click and drag through all the numbers that you want here, hit enter, and this has told us the sales tax for the month that was paid by the customer. Handy to know, that's a little thing that you haven't got told anywhere else. So there's a quick little calculation that really helped out. So now we've got this, we can figure out some more calculations just all the same way. So I want to figure out how much my listing fees were for the month. So all I do is scroll up to the area where all my listing fees were, click on the sum, click and drag through all the listing fee sections, hit enter. We find out how much our listing fee was. And running down, I can calculate my marketing the exact same way. £56, that's a lot of money. What should be the next thing? Sales and refunds. So click and drag across there. Which is fairly different from what Etsy told us. So it's good to do these calculations. And I just want to do the calculation of what the sales were without any refund, so I just don't include the little refund box that I had. And I like doing some random calculations. So the sales plus sales tax, the total customers paid to me for the month. Etsy subscription, I don't really need to do a calculation for this. We know this is just a one-off payment for the month. Transaction fees and payment processing fees are calculated in the same way. VAT. So now we've got things added up here. This is places where we can do some numbers to see if we can get things to add up here. But we've got a nice breakdown of what everything is. So with the listing fee, if I look at the rebate that's given back to me, that's credited back to my account, if I didn't have that, so I add that on, that would mean £9.30, which is exactly what my VAT form says. So now I've got this, let's add up all my total fees from the totals that I've got here. And this matches exactly what's in my VAT form. So this tells us that what's here is correct, and it's also a double check for me to make sure I'm adding things up okay. It's always good when you're doing taxes, try and make sure you have two different ways of adding things up to double check that you've got everything right yourself. But as for the sales and credits, I cannot find a way to make what Etsy's saying be like the right number of sales and credits. So, and they do tell us just to take this amount as an estimate. So what we actually made in the month are the numbers we've calculated. Check with your accountant how in your tax system you need to deal with the refunds. At least we know the CSV files that you've downloaded really give you some good numbers there. You know what's going on. And the other place you can get downloadable files for your taxes is in Settings, Options, Download Data. And here you can choose different types of files. And in these sections you can get much more details to double check what you've already calculated. And hopefully that'll be easier to deal with now that I've showed you how to play around with Excel files. I hope this helps. If you've any questions, pop them in the comments below.